Indian voice is a quiet one, almost a whisper. Sometimes it even stutters as if it is unsure of its place in the world. We are arguably the largest diaspora, as our footprints are embedded in the soil of 206 nations across the planet. And yet, when it comes to speaking up, our voice is hushed by migration and generation gaps. We've moved so far away from the homeland in search of bigger houses and greener grass that we forgot what home actually feels like. We build little Indias wherever we go and demand for more temples just to be in touch with our roots, to give us a sense of being Indian in a place that is not India. But the identity of the Indian person is a continuous tug of war between belonging to its own community and the world larger than itself. I am a fourth generation Indian person born and raised in Malaysia, which makes me a tiny dot in the 8.9% of my country's total 27 million population. My roots come from Bangalore on one side and Tamil Nadu on the other. Yet my feet are firmly planted in a place called Malaysia, a land that I share with the Malay and Chinese communities that are constantly trying to decide if it wants to be a potpourri of cultures or a melting pot. In fact, there is a debate as to whether I am Malaysian Indian or Indian Malaysian. Meaning, am I Indian first or am I Indian at all? And then there are other different constructs that further deconstruct my identity. Like, for instance, am I Hindu or am I Tamil? Or am I South Indian? This dilemma became the core of my master's thesis. Instead of relying on handouts of who we are, I wanted to know. I studied the representation of the Malaysian Indian community in local television advertisements during Deepavali. I wanted to know, how do we define ourselves as Indian? For decades, we have been depicted on screen as melodramatic people. We are either too loud, too rough, too pitiful, or sometimes the reverse, just plain comic relief. This notion comes from the Indian immigrant impression that is embedded in Malaysian history. Needless to say, it's as though all the Indian minority communities are fresh off the boats. Such negative and outdated perceptions of the Indian community is the reason why stereotypes are built and brand our community. And this, as a result, new generation of Indian people choose not to rejuvenate their identity. Instead, they cast it aside, or they cut corners to fit, to belong. Because you see, it's not valuable to be Indian when you are a minority. 25 years ago, my Tamil-tongued grandmother decided to learn English for the sake of her grandchildren. She knew that the only way she could pass down her recipe for mutton curry and all that advice is by being able to talk to her grandchildren who are trying to become global citizens. Deep down, I think my party knew that if she did not let go of her language, she would lose her voice. Today, I am a spoken word poet who believes in carrying her heritage on stage, even if it sometimes comes with a little baggage. But hey, if you ain't got baggage, you ain't got story. I believe that we can carry our identity across borderlines into our bloodlines by educating our children with the tales of our times. For me, poetry is that instrument. Poetry is ageless, timeless, and it also saves time. Like right now, I could show you pictorial slides of my research findings. But instead, I will leave you with a poem about my Indianity. I struggle with my identity, or should I say my Indianity, though I proudly tick Indian on tiny checkboxes of forms trying to fit me into a category, yet I am nothing but a statistic if the category denies me. Denying my stubborn tongue, taking after the tyrants who colonized my ancestors instead of my mother's own tongue. It's not my fault that you're sensitive and highly strung, because I call my appa Daddy, because Melissa sounds so English before it ends with Rani. Do I need to eat on banana leaves with my hands to pledge allegiance to the Anne next to me? Or will I forever be condemned to being a minority of the minority who would rather order tose in Malay because she can barely count to 3 without getting cringes, flinches, and stares? Una, rendu, muna? And you laugh at me, tease me to my face, and curse my family, who raised a girl who wore dresses instead of saris at weddings where I should be paired to my husband-to-be. Alas, it is my chastity that you question, because no black photo decorates this forehead of ambition. Get straight A's for the final exams, for the community and the quota. Go to university, be a doctor, and make us proud, Kanna. We Indians must stick together and be there for each other. But on my graduation day, you tell me mass comm is not in favor. My degree can't make me an engineer, but I can read your news. Vanakkam. செய்திகள் வாசிப்பது நான் தான் உங்கள் மெலிசாராணி. So teach me, and I will say more than the introduction. Give me a chance to make up for my A+ English tuition, despising the language you so crudely mentioned, the lack of my ability, and questioned my spirituality when you're the one who taught the people a string of our native obscenities. My bloodlines run deep along the rivers of the Holy Ganga to Tamil Nadu, Bangalore, and Karnataka. I may not kneel and pray like you, but I believe in karma, which I thought you did. But you stuck to bar brawls and self-righteous gangsters. Yes, I know you didn't do it. Must you take to the streets to prove your innocence? Wave your picket signs and throw stones at the government? Representatives who you claim know nothing of your plight and woe because they built the Tamil schools you refuse to go. Sponsored your babies and businesses and fought corruptly to make a stand that we are significant as an 8%. And they said, Nambike. Trust that tomorrow will be a better day. But trust is blind when that is the only Tamil word they can say. To cover empty promises and get your vote with free biryani dinners. They're no saint, because we're all sinners. While they're greedy for power, we're only greedier. Not enough, we holler for more temples and festival holidays and discounts for my brother who chose the Parang to hear Rajini and easy money because it paid the bills and he couldn't sit through a law degree. Forgive me, but hell hath no fury like a woman's scorn because she chose friends lighter than her shade of brown or darker on the color palette from white to black, and you frown at me, wondering why I didn't stick to the clan. The Indian boy was good enough, but I wanted a man. And I watched you, grinding your teeth, chewing at what is hard to swallow, at principles and traditions you don't understand but follow, knowing that you'd be frowned upon if you told me to stick to my own kind, but you already are, because when your Malayali daughter comes home with a Punjabi, it's not fine. But I hold out my hand towards you, seeking your acceptance beneath my frustration and expensive education to read our history, locate our past, and affirm the present, shine the dim future, and light the pathway for our descendants. So look at what you have in the palm of your hands and look no further. We've sat down too long at dabas over Nescafes, blaming each other for what we can't have, don't have, should have, when we already have the human ability to succeed in all that we choose to be. Remember that a community with problems is different from a problem community. Between Bharatanatyam spins and tabla beats, you and I are no different. So polish your cultural armor and let all grudges go. Life may be rough, but it need not be another Vijay TV episode. Though I didn't climb Everest or start an airline, I can't make dal curry to save my life. and I'm not divine. But accept me as I accept you with arms open wide, because I choose to tick Indian as I am on the inside. Thank you.